Welcome back, guys, and thank you for tuning in today. If you like the content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. So, as we enter March Madness, I wanted to look at 5 players who have gone pretty under the radar by mainstream media, and these are 5 guys who I think can really be impactful at the NBA level. And being that a lot of you guys are interested in the NBA draft and prospects and such, I do want to give you 5 guys who I think are under the radar and who I think could be major steals at the next level. Now, for those of the guys that watch that are in draft Twitter and other people that are just heavy in the draft, these are 5 guys you probably know. But I'm trying to appeal to more of the casual college basketball fan who wants to know some of the players that are going to be lighting up the scoreboards come March Madness. So let's begin. The first player I want to discuss is Cam Thomas from LSU, a flashy two guard who's just an absolute bucket. This guy can score at any level of the floor, whether it be a set shot or off balance, whether it be spot up or off the dribble. His draft projections among those heavy in scouting has pretty much been all over the place as far as I can tell, with some putting him near the end of the lottery, while others consider him a fringe first round prospect. This is largely due to the fact that he's pretty much all scoring and doesn't offer much on the defensive end and is really limited sometimes in his playmaking ability as he does suffer from tunnel vision. But for me, I do consider him someone that should go in the mid first round, strictly based off his scoring ability. My draft comp for him for now is a Terry Rozier and what he's done currently with the Hornets. And I do think a really hot streak in March Madness could bring rise to his draft stock given that he is just a freshman. So teams will likely value him due to his age and the idea that you can really make him significantly better than what he is. And alternatively, a cold streak because of his high volume shooting could very well hurt him and lower him to that end of the first round, early second round. I think regardless, he's going to be a really good value pick. And I do think, like I said, at the next level, he can do a lot of the things that Terry Rozier can do. He has a pretty similar handle and high-level shot creating ability. But I do think he does need to improve on his decision making and tunnel vision at the next level, as I previously mentioned. But if you guys watch this guy's highlight reel, it's some of the best there is of college prospects. I mean, the highs of his scoring ability are absolutely insane. Now, he does suffer from decision making, like in terms of shot selection at times. But again, I do think as someone who is a secondarily or like a third shot creator on a team, perhaps off the bench, he can bring a high impact to a team, especially on the offensive end, especially for a team like the Knicks and other teams who really are good defensively but struggle in creating offense through inconsistencies when their best players such as Randall and Barrett are off the court. So on to my next prospect, Nashon Hyland from VCU. He's not a freshman, he's a little bit older, but I do think he's somewhat similar to Cam Thomas. And the draft projection for him has also been all over the place, even more so than Cam, where some people think he could be a mid to late first round option, while others see him as a mid to late second round option. But seeing Emmanuel Quickley's recent success in the NBA, and given that Bones has a pretty similar skill set, I do think him being a mid to late first is a really good value for him. And, given that, deep range shooting is so important at the next level, this guy could really thrive being an off ball player. This guy's just a big shot taker and a big shot maker. And he is a bit slight on his frame, being listed at only 165 pounds at 6'3". So he can't exactly match up well defensively, and he definitely cannot run the primary point guard position as he isn't much of a playmaker. But as a secondary creator in the backcourt where a team may need some instant offense, I do think this guy can do absolute wonders for an NBA team on the offensive end. He's sort of in the mold offensively as a scorer as that of a Jamal Murray and Steph Curry. Now, don't get me wrong, he's obviously or more than likely not going to pan out to be at the level of those two players. But what I'm saying is this guy off ball is very smart. In terms of movement, he really does a great job getting to his spots and being an excellent spot up shooter. And he can also go as far as hitting the deep range 30-foot, Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, Trae Young shot. And I do think that does have value in the NBA. And, especially, but the appeal obviously is the off ball offense, running around screens and being that spot up shooter. He's a very streaky guy. And if he can get hot, I do think he can cause problems for defenses at the next level. I don't think he'll be much on the inside, but still a good shooter. I think that does present a lot of value and a big run in March Madness. This guy has shown multiple carry jobs, come back from injury, still balling, and I do think a big March Madness showing could do wonders for his draft stock, as like I said, it's been all over the place. So next up, I want to switch to the big man position, and that starts with Neemis Cueta, the Utah State big man who really has been a model of efficiency on both ends of the court for a while now, but doesn't exactly receive a lot of recognition when it comes to discussing big man prospects at the next level. You hear guys like Evan Mobley, obviously Day'Ron Sharpe, and I'm forgetting the Turkish guy's name, Alperen Sengun, but I do think that Neemis Cueta is going to be an instant impact player wherever he goes. And while he is more of a traditional back-to-basket big man with only a slight resemblance of a mid-range shot that we have not seen that much, I do think that he has a fair bit of upside. And that really starts with the defensive end, where he has amassed a really high amount of defensive win shares and also adds a high defensive rating. Advanced stats aside, this guy averaged over 3 blocks a game and added a little bit over a steal per game. And that really shows to how high his defensive IQ is, coupled with the fact that he has a pretty low foul rate, which is rare for someone that's as active as him on the defensive side of things. I think that's really something that should be attractive for teams needing a big man. I think the Celtics should consider him if they're picking in the late first round, given that they've needed a big man that can be a true rim protector. I think Rob Williams is a great player, but his foul rate is obviously very high. And I do think that he does have some potential on the offensive end. Obviously, he's going to be an athletic guy that can run rim to rim. He has a good frame at a little bit over 7 feet and 225 pounds, I believe, with a 7'4" wingspan. But with a 70% free throw percentage, I do think that maybe he could hit the occasional three-pointer at the next level, which I think, you'll see more at the combine if that's a possibility or not. But I am willing to bet on Neemis' potential, even though he is a little bit of an older prospect. I do think, again, instant impact on a good team, whatever kind of team. And I'm very interested to see where he goes. I would pick him up at the late first round, like I just mentioned with the Celtics. But I don't think a good March Madness will really do much to his stock. But I do think, for fans of teams that need a backup big man, Neemis is a guy to pay attention to. So Charles Bassey was a former 5-star recruit a couple of years ago, and he's another big man, but he's largely gone unnoticed through mainstream media, and that really has a lot to do with the fact that he does go to Eastern Kentucky University, which obviously isn't in a Power 5 conference. And while they are in March Madness, I don't think many people know about EKU, going into the tournament. But I am pretty high on Charles Bassey. Still only 20 years old, despite being a junior, I do think there's room for considerable growth, especially on the offensive end, and I do think he should be a lock in the first round, although I've seen him really be drafted or projected in the second round more. I think this guy has shown improvements across every category across his 3 years at Western Kentucky University, or Eastern, my bad, I'm sorry about that. But namely his three-point shooting, which he's shooting at a 31% clip at 2 attempts a game, which again doesn't sound too appealing. But note that projected three-point percentage is increased in the NBA because of the better spacing and better opportunities that are found. And that coupled with him being another high IQ defensive big man, another big man that averages over 3 blocks a game on another pretty low foul rate, I think he really advertises as a potential 3-and-D rim protector at the next level who can bring high impact. I do think, maybe offensively it will take him a year or two, but down the line, I do think he can be a really impactful role player. And I'm excited to see how he does in March Madness. And I do think, a big March could really stock his or raise his stock to being a low end first round pick. And finally, for the last player, I decided to pick Yves Pons from Tennessee, the 6'6 forward. And Tennessee is a very interesting situation because they're obviously a big name team. And Yves Pons, I think, might be more so known than the rest of the prospects on this list. But Tennessee is more so known by, the NBA draft crowd for the two outstanding freshmen that are there in Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer, who are both projected as high mid-lottery picks. But I do think there should be a lot of attention placed on Yves Pons, who I do think can be an extremely impactful role player at the next level. He's probably one of those guys that really doesn't, his stock doesn't really improve or decrease either way just because he is what he is. And aside from if he goes on like a massive hot shooting streak from three, I don't see his stock really rising out of the second round. And, overall, I don't think he will impact too much at the next level offensively outside of transition opportunities. But the immense athleticism that he has, coupled with the unique shot blocking at just 6'6", where he averaged 2.5 blocks a game, provides the idea that he can really be a supremely impactful role player for a good to contending team. The three-point shot has been inconsistent, as I said, but likewise to most of these prospects, a big showing in March could really elevate his stock. But really just the defensive IQ, I think he's incredibly versatile. With that athleticism, he moves really quick. And I think being at 6'6", for whatever reason in the current NBA, is like a perfect size for a versatile defender, as I do think he's someone that can go as far as covering guards while also going out to cover big men as well. And I do think that has a lot of value at the next level. So while NBA teams draft guys who are high upside plays or guys that are high level shooters, I do think Yves Pons is going to slip, but I do think he's going to be a massive steal in the upcoming draft. So that's all I have for today. Tomorrow, obviously, I'm dropping the next part of my March Madness coverage, and that will be the upset picks that I have projected. I've been working on this bracket, man. It's been pretty tough because I feel like as you know more about college basketball, it gets harder and harder to get things right, especially in a bracket, just because of you always second guess yourself and stuff. And sometimes it's just better to go with your gut instinct. But I'm going to give you guys coverage on who I think are potential upsets and why, obviously, and just other games to look out for that I think are interesting and could go either way. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, if you guys like the content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. Good night.